Hey everybody, Stereo Azimuth here, and I'm going to go over the differences between an SL-1200 MK2 M3d and MK5. So we know that the MK7 is the newest, latest, and greatest one, but some of the other ones, like the specifications are exactly the same, and like what is the real differences? And I'm going to be going over those so you can kind of decide if you're shopping around for an older turntable, or maybe you have an MK2 and go, what am I going to get if I upgrade to an M3D or a MK5? So the reason that I say like MK5 is there's probably fewer M3Ds that are out there because it was kind of quickly replaced by the MK5. But I have an M3D, so that's what I'm going to be using to show you kind of the differences. The M3D and the MK5, there's only like two real differences between them. So, and those are not really seen. The MK5 had slightly better tone arm and slightly better platter, I think. Maybe it was dampened a little bit more, or the plinth was a little bit different. But other than that, the MK2 and like the M3D had the same internal motor, same internals, same everything. I think the MK5, like I said, slightly the materials of the plinth are a little bit different, and the tone arm is a little bit different. Other than that, these are the same. So, and then the MK5, like I said, had the same features of the M3D. So as I go through the features of the M3D, just know that those also apply to the MK5. Now when I say features, it's kind of like, a car, like there's the EX and like the LX model. Well, the LX is, it's the same engine, same performance, but the accoutrement on the inside may be a little bit different. So we're going to go over just those little features that you get with it, and I think that like some of these apply to audiophiles and DJs. A lot of the feedback, like a lot of the changes that went into the M3D and then later the MK5 were feedback from DJs that are in the club. But I think that these changes benefit the longevity and just the overall performance of the turntable, just for it keeps it from repair. Essentially, doesn't really, I shouldn't even say performance, that's a bad word to use, because the performance, the specifications are exactly the same. So really these are just like features to help it. So we're going to quickly go through those changes. So the first thing, and the one thing that I want to point out before we even get started, is that my M3D has been changed from the factory from red LEDs to blue LEDs. I really didn't buy it for that reason. It's just when I bought the turntable, it had been changed. So just know that the blue LEDs are not from the factory. They should be red. Also, I have a cork mat that is a third-party mat that is not a stock mat. It would be a stock rubber mat that would normally be here, but I have a cork mat. So just those two real differences I want to point out really quick. So the speed control, yes, you still get variable speed on the M3D and the MK5, but the MK2 had this problem. When you got to the center detent, there was a switch here, and that switch would engage the light to engage the factory calibrated speed control. However, that switch would wear out. So if you use this switch a lot of times the switch would just over time would wear, the contacts would wear, and it was harder and harder to get it into that center detent switch. So some people, modified theirs and put the factory calibrated like on a switch on the side or something like that, or a switch on the top. So what Technics did was said, okay, that's cool, we'll just add a switch, a latching switch here that says reset, and when it's latched down, the light comes on and you are at the factory calibrated speed settings. and the variable pitch control will not work. However, until you disengage like the reset switch, and now the speed control is part of the speed circuit, and you can go, you know, -8 to +8. It is still quartz locked to whatever your, you know, whatever added or less speed that you're adding, which is very much, you know, a Technics SL-1200 MK2 thing and on. So that is like that. So, but this upgrade, I think that added value to the M3D and the MK5, because you didn't have something that was, you know, maybe you're going to question that it's going to fail later or something like that. So just know that that is a change. I really like it. And like I said, it can benefit DJs or audiophiles. Another quick little change, and this is something like less minor, I think, than that, is that in the back near the tone arm is this cartridge holder. So back here, and the MK5 has this as well as the M3D, but the 1200 does not. And basically all that it is a place to put an extra cartridge. It's not connected to anything. It just keeps it there for when you're ready to use it. So as an audiophile, this is kind of cool, because then I can just quickly switch out cartridges as I like, and you know, I can have it there, you know, when I'm ready. You do have to, you know, obviously, unless they're the same exact cart, maybe just like a different needle, but you may have to make some adjustments on your tone arm for weight and balance and your anti-skate, but you don't have to fumble around at where it is. It's just right there, sitting right on top of your turntable. Nice little holder for it. So that's kind of cool. So now we're going to switch over and move over to the power. And then this too is also part of the MK5 and the M3D. So the power switch on the MK2, the collar only went up maybe 3/4 of the way here. And then this rotating switch, you could actually turn it this way to turn it on and off. So what Technics found is that a lot of DJs were like hitting the switch and either causing damage to it or accidentally turning it on or off, especially when you have the turntable set in like what's called like a battle mode, where this side of the turntable is the side that's closest to you, and so the tone arm is further away, so you know, it's kind of like more out of the way and you have more room to do whatever you want down here. But the problem is, as you're reaching for the tone arm, your arm might hit the switch and rub against it and accidentally turn it off. So what Technics did to fix this is they brought the collar all the way up to the sides. So the only way to turn this on or off is by, you know, from the top. You can still rotate it from the top. Once again, I think this is a nice little improvement, because I think it retains the longevity of the switch and helps protect it from any damage. So I don't see, you know, any problems with that whatsoever. I see that as a little, you know, just a little minor improvement there, because this is another failure of the SL-1200 MK2, and you know, you can go on YouTube and find videos on how to replace this switch and that sort of thing. But everything else is the same here: the start stop button, the speed selector switch, and everything else. So the only other difference between the M3D and the MK5, now I'm not sure on the MK5, but I do know on the M3D it did not ship with dust cover hinges. Now you do get a dust cover, okay? We switch. You do actually get a dust cover. Okay, here it is, and it has the mount points for hinges. Okay, and the turntable itself, the M3D turntable, and let me adjust my camera so you can see, but you don't have to make any modifications for your M3D if you want hinges. The hinges are there, and let me just show you right quick. If I show you here, There they are. So there's the mounting plate for a hinge. So if you want a hinge for an M3D, you will have to get one separately, unless you are buying one that already has the hinges that somebody has purchased to go with it. So that's an added bonus. But the M3D did not come with the hinges. So they came with a dust cover, but it did not come with hinges. Because, I mean, a lot of people by this time in the 90s were like just dropping them into, you know, road cases, into their coffins or whatever. And so the first thing that they did was, you know, take off the hinges because they are, you know, screw mounted to the back plates. But the back plates are here. There are two of them. I'm not going to show you the other one because it looks exactly the same. But yes, you can get hinges for them if you like. If you're looking for some, you can go to kabusa.com and you can purchase hinges. You also might find some used on eBay or other sites for people that have taken off theirs from their from their SL-1200. Just make sure you get all of the parts, because there's the mounting screws and the springs and the little holders. So just make sure you get all the parts, so that it all connect to the dust cover. So if you want a dust cover, as an audiophile, I use mine as a dust cover when it's a dust cover, and then when I'm playing it, I just take it off. So I originally, when I first purchased this thing, I was gonna get dust cover hinges for it, but then once I used it, I said, what's the point? I'm gonna be spending money, and I just take it off anyway. So there you go. It actually saved me some money by not having it. But other than that, everything else is the same between the M3D and the MK2. The internals are the same. The motor is the same. The platter is the same. The tone arm is the same. The MK5, the tone arm is a little bit different, and I think that also the plinth is a little bit different. But I think everything else is the same. So yeah. And like I said, we all know that the MK7 is the newer model. Hopefully that helps you decide and helps you know the differences between all the different, like MK2, M3D, MK5. It's just those real kind of like feature differences that I think make some minor improvements on the MK2 where there's a little bit of failure and might keep you from, repair, keep it from the repair shop. The lamps, my pop-up light, my queuing light is burnt out on mine, and I still got to get it replaced. So they still burn out like the same amount of time. There's nothing that you can do about that. And so in the tone arm, I've actually got to get a replacement tone arm because mine's a little bit worn out. But hey, this is what happens when you buy an old table. Luckily, with the SL-1200s, there are plenty of spare parts that you can get with it. And if anybody is looking into a vintage turntable, I highly suggest a SL-1200, because you can always, upgrade. You can always find parts. You can always find help. You can always find mostly what you're looking for in them, and it will probably be continued to support for in the future, for everybody that loves the SL-1200. I think that they're a workhorse audiophile or DJ turntable. I love the SL-1200, and I think that they sound great, and hopefully you do too. Hopefully you got a better understanding of all these different models that nobody really helped explain the difference between these different models. Because spec-wise, specifications, if you look at the specifications, they're exactly the same. So have a good day, everybody. I am Stereo Azimuth. Be sure to like and subscribe, and happy vinyl.